So Philipp Samor von Holtzendorff-Fehling, he is the founder and CEO of Leela Quantum Tech, which I am representing with this very cool necklace. Maybe we see some people around here with this here. Maybe we'll talk about it.
See him.
Yeah, we got some. CEO of Leela Quantum Tech and Quantum Upgrade. He is a bio and bioenergy hacker, Kundalini yoga teacher. Philipp has made it to the top 8 in the tennis senior U.S. nationals and still participates in tournaments.
Oh, number one. Number one.
We gotta update
that.
The bio. Okay, round of applause.
Yeah.
Number 1. Okay, we are so excited to kick off the day with Philipp. Please take the stage.
Let's give him a warm welcome. Come on up.
All right, what are we going to talk about? Quantum tech, frequency medicine, and energy. So we have a video pretty much early on to get everyone a little bit into the zone.
Let's imagine for a few moments what our life would be like if we could access, let's say, 20% of our brain's capacity.
If you want to have something show up in your life, the kind of person you would like to become, manifest something new into your life, something powerful, whatever it might be, you obviously must first be able to imagine it. Your imagination is able to do all that you ask in proportion to the degree of your attention. So, what kind of attention do you place on your desires? Einstein's most famous quote, one of his most famous observations, he said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world. Logic will get you from A to B, but imagination will take you everywhere. Make your future dream a present fact by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That which you feel yourself to be, you are. And you are given that which you are. So assume the feeling that would be yours were you already in possession of your wish. And your wish must be realized. So live in the feeling of being the one you want to be, and that you shall be. If this assumption about what you would like to become is persisted in until it becomes your dominant feeling, the attainment of your ideal is absolutely inevitable. You must first assume the feeling of a wish fulfilled in all aspects of your life. Don't allow anybody else's opinions. Don't allow what it says on the internet. Don't allow the research. Don't allow what anybody out there tells you is possible or not possible for you. If you advance confidently in the direction of your own dreams and endeavor to live the life which you have imagined, you will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. It will chase after you if you can place into your imagination what it is that you would like to attract and begin to feel it. Start retraining your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind, it responds to what it is that you suggest to it. Your subconscious mind rules your life. 96 to 97% of everything that you do is done as a result of your subconscious mind. And when your subconscious mind gets programmed, it goes ahead and responds to whatever it is your conscious mind has placed into it. You are the creator. This is the mystery. This is the great secret known by the seers and prophets and mystics throughout the ages. This is the truth that you can never know intellectually.
Many of you, as I have been, as I am, are where you are in your life based upon what you believe. And it's not just what you think you believe on the surface, it's also your shadow beliefs that are holding you back from moving into the life that you believe you deserve. What I know is if you're not looking at the shadows, if you're not looking at what is subconsciously running through the tape in your mind, telling yourself you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, you're not smart enough, you're not enough, which is a tape that's playing for a lot of people. If you're not conscious of that, then you end up acting out of that belief system and not out of what you know to be the truest or want to be the truest for yourself.
You are where you are today, in part because of what you've been saying about yourself. Words are like seeds. When you speak something out, you give life to what you're saying. If you continue to say it, eventually that can become a reality. You are planting seeds when you talk. At some point, you're going to eat that fruit. My challenge is make sure you're planting the right kind of seeds. If you want apples, you have to sow apple seeds. If you want oranges, you can't plant cactus seeds, poison ivy seeds, mushroom seeds. You're going to reap fruit from the exact seeds that you've been sowing. In other words, you can't talk negative and expect to live a positive life. You can't talk defeat and expect to have victory. You can't talk lack, not enough, can't afford it, never get ahead, and expect to have abundance. If you have a poor mouth, you're going to have a poor life. And this is great when we're saying things like, I'm blessed, I'm strong, I will accomplish my dreams, I'm coming out of debt. That's not just being positive, you are prophesying victory, prophesying success, prophesying new levels. And your life will move in the direction of your words. But too many people go around prophesying just the opposite. I never get any good breaks. I'll never get back in shape. Business is slow. I'll probably get laid off. Flu season is here. I always get it. They don't realize they are prophesying defeat. It's just like they're calling in bad breaks, mediocrity, lack.
You don't become what you want because so much of wanting is about living in the space of what you don't have. That's why Jim Carrey's story is so powerful, because he started to act as though he already had it. He would go up to Mulholland Drive, he would drive away thinking, I already have those things, I just haven't accessed them as yet. I believe those things are going to come to me and I'm going to act like they are, so I'm going to move forward in my life in order to draw that to myself in such a way that my actions are in alignment with what I say I believe. So if you start to think about that, really, why are you where you are in your life? The choices that you have made have been because of what you believe to be true for yourself.
The time is now. The time is now to express and for people to believe in themselves. The time is now for it to be okay to be great. People in this world shun people for being great, for being a bright color, for standing out. But the time is now to be okay to be the greatest you.
You can talk yourself out of your destiny. Negative words can keep you from becoming who you were created to be. Don't fall into that trap. Quit calling in defeat. Quit talking about how it's not going to happen. You should write down your goals. Write down what you want to see happen in life. Any areas that you're struggling in, where you need to improve, write it down like it's already done. And then every day, declare that decree. Read over it a couple of times out loud. It's not enough to just think it. Something happens when we speak. You have to prophesy your future. Those words will get down on the inside of you. They'll not only change your outlook, but they will change who you are. Your words will become your reality.
It's so important that we remember again that we're energy and frequency at core, because we're sort of made to be machines or to feel like machines in this world, right? Because it's all about tasks, it's all about materialism, and we completely stopped as a society to go inside and to feel and to notice that we're energy and frequency, right? So if we take a moment to remember that again, it's just so important for our lives and for everyone else as well. And once we realize that also, that we are energy and frequency at core, it's no wonder that we can influence everyone and everything in ourselves with the right vibration, or with the wrong vibration, we can influence ourselves as well. Moving from the energetics to the science now a little bit. So by now we have over 60 different research studies and projects completed, over 40 placebo-controlled trials done all over the world, a lot of ongoing trials as well, and 17 different research partners. So those are not studies that we performed ourselves. These are some of the research institutions. You can see me screen there, the Emoto Institute out of Japan, BESA Institute out of Austria, a lot of different institutions that tested our products. And what's interesting is that we had a few investigators in the whole process that thought, well, this technology can't work because you don't plug it into a wall, you don't swallow a pill, you don't give yourself a shot. Like, how can this work when it's non-physical, right? So those are some of the best investigators, because they try in the study that it doesn't work. And if it then works, it's even more mind-boggling. So these are some of the research fields that were looked at, really very broad. I mean, it starts with mitochondrial function, with blood health, with a heart rate variability, which is linked to the autonomic nervous system, brain performance, stress factors, cell recovery, men's health, women's health, food sensitivity. There's a lot. So on a physical level, if we didn't have ATP production, we wouldn't be here, we would be dead. ATP production is what the mitochondria produce. It's the energy, it's basically the currency of our bodies. And that's a big biohacking thing, so most of you have probably heard about it. So when I have a mental performance, when I have a physical performance, I specifically need even more ATP. So then we spoke with Dr. Robert Schief, who's one of the experts in the US. He's at the University of Tulsa. If he could run randomized double-blind studies in regards to ATP production, and you can physically measure the ATP output, right? So it's really something physical you can measure. And he said, yeah, sure, I can run the studies. I don't think this can work, right? Because how could energy make a difference? We said, sure, just set it up. So the first study was done, and then he saw these significant results. So he saw a jump of ATP of 20 to 29%, which is massive. Then he said, I need to do this study one more time, even though it was statistically significant, because he needed to bring this other part on board in him, who said, I see it, it works, but I need to see it one more time. So he did it again, same thing happened, 20 to 29% increase in ATP production. Then he did it a third time, because he said, before I publish it, I need to cover my butt, because all the other scientists out there that are from the mainstream, they're going to say, this can't be, this can't be. Yet it can be. So now he actually teaches his students about that, and it is absolutely possible. Dave Asprey, who wrote a book about ATP production, obviously he's sort of the father of biohacking, he said that this is incredible, that he could do these 10, 11 different things, NAD shots, different supplements, all of that together, and maybe he can get to 25% increase in ATP production, but that you can do it in a non-invasive way is quite remarkable. So then we moved on in this specific study series, and Dr. Robert Schief, he also works on wound healing and cell recovery, so we asked him, would it be possible to measure if our technology somehow helps to accelerate wound healing, because that's what we figured, that's what we had heard from a lot of reports, And he said, yes, we can do that too. So he ran 5 more studies, all randomized and double-blind, each of them statistically significant. And the way they do that is they have a control group where you damage cells with a laser, or you can also do it mechanically, and then you have a treated group, so-called experimental group. And they're also scratched with a laser, so all the cells are damaged, and there are millions and millions of cells in one group and millions of cells in the other group. And then you wait how long it takes until they're healed. And it's randomized and double-blind, and only the experimental group is exposed to our technology. So what happened was a medical breakthrough. The acceleration in wound healing was between 50 and 100%. That is indeed quite a wow. And it's non-invasive. You don't even have to put anything on. You don't need to take anything. It's just the right energy. It's the right vibration that helps the cells to just recover way faster. So this is an interesting one because it opened my eyes quite a bit. So some of you may know that I used to be vice president at T-Mobile in Europe and also at T-Mobile US. So I know quite a bit about electromagnetic fields. And from our research and other things, I've known for a while now what the electromagnetic fields do to our biological system, to the blood, etc. But honestly, I had no idea how bad it is to the brain. And I was shocked. I was shocked in December because we had gotten together with an institute in Germany that has the most advanced EEG device on the market, 256 channels. And there was just actually a video posted by Dave Asprey a few days ago where he talks about 40 years of Zen that most of you probably have heard of. You know, they do the neurofeedback and all of that. They use 22 channels. That doesn't make them worse in any way, right? It's phenomenal work. But just to give you the dimension, 256 channels is the best of the best. That device costs $150,000, and it can look into your brain, into your limbic system like an MRT. So you literally can see everything what's going on in the brain. So they ran a study. We had the same situation. The investigators there, they said, yeah, okay, you know, this is not going to work because they have tested, I think by now over 30 different technologies that claim they can help with electromagnetic fields. And what usually happens is that in 1/3 of the cases after the second test person, they need to stop the study because the technology makes the electromagnetic fields worse. And they can't do that with the test persons, obviously, because I'll explain in a second how they run the study. How to run the study, that's already a difficult thing for the body, but if it's worse, you know, you're literally getting fried. So they need to stop the study then. And then they have a vast majority of the cases where there's no impact whatsoever. So they thought, of course, with an energy device, you know, how could this work? So the way they test is they have a 10-minute EEG in a completely electromagnetic-free room. That's like the baseline. So you see a pretty healthy, natural brainwave state across the board. Then the test person gets into a chair and, you know, gets the iPhone 16. I think in the study in December it was still the iPhone 15 next to their ear, about like half an inch away with a stand. And then there's a 5G call that happens for 30 minutes. And then people develop headaches. They subjectively say they start to sweat and not feel good anymore. And in the EEG, you see that. You see everything. And that's what shocked me so much. Everything in the brain started to get stressed, and really stressed. So it's as if someone just shocks you the whole time. That's what's happening with our brain waves. So for 30 minutes, they do that. Then they do the same thing again after a 2 or 5 minute break. And then our technology is turned on. You can see the difference here. So all the stress goes down. The gamma and beta activity, which is linked to stress, was reduced by about 80%. And the alpha activity in the limbic system, that is the activity that you want for a calm state, to be de-stressed and to be with clarity of mind, was able to be increased by 13x. So that's not a typo there. It's not 1.3x. It's indeed 13x. So that's quite significant, what that can do with your brain. this is how that looked like. By the way, also Health Uncensored with Dr. Drew, people in the US will know him, just aired a segment, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, where they went to Germany to film this because they said this is phenomenal. That was actually done with our quantum upgrade system, which works over distance, which is even more incredible that works. And they had a 2 times world champion, boxing world champion, Natalie Zimmerman there to get tested. And yeah, so that segment will probably be posted relatively soon also on our website and distributed via email, so you can take a look at that if you're interested. And here you can also see that was actually done with the iPhone 16 in that case. So really the latest generation mobile phone. And it attacks the limbic system within seconds. So you can say that with certainty. It doesn't even take 5 seconds and your limbic system is completely attacked. And for the ones that don't know, in the limbic system, that's where we control our breath, our heartbeat. So the limbic system is sacred. So you don't want that to be attacked in any way, yet constantly we're living in this EMF soup. So this is an interesting one. So I'm just giving you a little bit of an overview, right? So we're diving from cellular function to brain state to now women's health. And so there was an institute, it's called Reputable Health in the US, and they reached out to us at some point, I think it was a year and a half ago, and then they said, can your technology help with fertility? And I said, I don't know. I mean, I guess it does, and I would bet my house on it probably that it would, but we have no data, so I can't tell you. And they said, we would like to explore this because the fertility issue has been increasing significantly over the last several years, and we have all these women that we work with, so we have a lot of potential test persons. Could you just make the technology available? So that's what we did, long story short. By now, there were 100 women that were in this study, and across the board, significant positive changes were reported. This study will also be published probably in the next 2 or 3 months in a medical journal. So anxiety and fear are reduced. Maybe before I go there, I want to say that there is no fertility marker, right? So it's not that you can just measure, are you fertile or are you not? They look at different markers. They look at the HRV, for example. They look at your stress level, your level of depression, for example, all these different things. And so you see some of those markers listed up there. And so anxiety and fear levels went down by over 30%, which is quite significant in a few months. I think this was if I'm not mistaken, this was a 2 or 3 month study. So it's quite rapid, I would say. Sleep issues were reduced by over 30%. Depression also went down, somatic and several other ones. So memory issues also reduced. Then we had the BESA Institute in Austria. The BESA Institute in Austria has probably provided by now over 1,000 pages of research documents in regards to our technology, and they have tested pretty much everything you can think of, from improvement of water and food, positive impact on the physical body, also electromagnetic field testing, blood health, etc. But I want to move into this one specific study here because everyone is currently thinking about getting an electric car or already driving an electric car. And unfortunately, I need to tell you that's not a good thing for your health to drive an electric car, because in an electric car, you literally fry yourself. What you saw in this test there with the brain waves, that is what you're exposing yourselves to if you're sitting in an electric car. And unfortunately, similar things happen in a gas car also because there's so much electronic in there. By now, that isn't even a healthy option, but it's a definitely healthier option than the electric car. Because in an electric car, it's terrible. You can develop chronic migraines. The longer you drive in the car, the worse it gets. And by the way, you don't take my word for it. You can just take a regular EMF meter and measure it. Just start driving and measure it, and then drive for an hour and measure it again, and you'll see it's through the roof. And then you can test, okay, what happens when you are on the phone while you're driving, and then you have a passenger that's also on the phone while you're driving. And then you can test what happens if I charge the battery of that car. And that's the point where you should definitely get out of the car. So the BESA Institute tested all of these different situations. And it's remarkable if you look at the results. So this is just a snapshot here, and if the Base Institute was here, they would tell you this is not like a best case scenario here. This is the average of what they've seen, right? So they have a before test, and the people were not in perfect health when they got tested, but they were also not terrible. So green is optimal, right? And this is the organ health, by the way, that they measured here with cellular voltage, by the way, and several other markers. And then blue is deregulated state, so that's not optimal, to be honest. And then when the electric car situation is active, suddenly everything, all of your organs are deregulated, and the red, that is pathological deregulation. What does that mean? That's basically a disease state. So your organs get into a disease state. 12% of your organs get into a disease state. And the other 87% are deregulated. Okay, so is that a state you want to be in? No. So then our technology got introduced, and what happens? Within a few minutes, it changes, and you have a complete green picture. So all the organs suddenly are deregulated, and you don't have these issues anymore. So now some of you may wonder, okay, so that's all amazing results, but how does that work? It works because on a below subatomic level, quantum energy can harmonize negative interference patterns. So if you were to hit me in the face, it hurts. If you give me an acupressure in the neck, it's beneficial to me. That's pretty much the analogy to it, right? So you can have waves that hit you, and they hit your biofield, and they're detrimental to your health and to your organ health. But if you harmonize them so that they go right through you or don't even bother you in any way, you're not affected. And that's pretty much what happens, right? So we always think so physical. It's just everything we can touch, that's real, right? But the energy is real, and we need to understand that. So that's why we can also help ourselves on an energy level. So this is just how granular they looked at the different organs. So you see the health of the lungs and the stomach and even the intestines and all of that. And by the way, for everyone who's interested, this is the first conference here in the US where we have a BESA testing device. It's a Decavol method, an advanced Decavol method. We have it at our booth, so everyone can get their organ health tested for free. It just takes a minute. Literally, it's very quick. It's not the super deep test. You can also do a deep test that takes a little bit longer, but it gives you a pretty good read. And then you can put your hands into one of our devices for a couple of minutes, and then you can get your after test, and you can also take pictures of your results. Again, it's at the Leela Quantum Tech booth downstairs, and it's completely free. So whoever is interested, you can do that. We'll move through this one. So that's the EGEF Institute out of Europe that a lot of Americans don't know. It's the largest independent research and testing institute in Europe in regards to electromagnetic fields. They ran various different studies. They, for example, verified and certified all of the EMF blocking effects of our EMF clothing. And they also ran a study with our H.E.A.L capsule that was in regards to heart rate variability, which showed that 100% of the test persons showed significant improvements in the heart rate variability wearing that capsule. This is just a snapshot of that. I want to get through this because, first of all, I want to make up some time because we were able to start late. And then I want to get into one of my favorite topics, and that's the blood health. So dark field microscopy and live blood analysis is something that's in the US not so known anymore, interestingly. Yet it's the best method on Earth to look at what's going on in your blood in real time. Why? Because it's not fiction, it's reality. You look into your blood in real time with a microscope, so it's all magnified, and it's also illuminated so that you can literally see your red blood cells, your white blood cells. You can see things like parasitic load and other things. There are a lot of things you can't see, but you can see the overall health state of the blood. You can see by looking at that, by the way, also, are you at risk for a heart disease, for a stroke, etc. So the Besa Institute in Austria ran multiple randomized double-blind studies in regards to dark field microscopy with our technology, and so did Dr. Rubik. Dr. Beverly Rubik, UC Berkeley, published multiple times here in the US. She's probably one of the top 3 practitioners in the US using it. By the way, why it kind of disappeared a little bit in the US is because about 20 years ago, I heard they decided to charge every practitioner in the US a $100,000 per year license fee if they wanted to use dark field microscopy for diagnostic purposes. It's kind of crazy, right? That's how you make things go away, even though these are very useful tools, right? And I wish, it would have been around in the US during COVID, for example, because you can obviously also see in real time what happens if you give yourself a shot. So this was the randomized blinded study here by Dr. Rubik, and she did multiple. And she was, by the way, also one of those that said, I'm very open to your technology, but I don't think it can work. And yeah, if you talk to her now, obviously, she changed her mind completely. As a matter of fact, after the first study, she called me and said, wow, oh my God, you have the solution. You have the solution for this problem, for this blood clotting problem right now that we're facing. This is quite amazing. So then I had to put on the brakes and say, okay, wait, let's do a couple more studies. Anyway, so this is a representative picture of what she found. So she found this is the baseline blood. A test person get tested in a Wi-Fi free environment. In this case, it was not 5G or an iPhone 16 tested. It was just a regular Wi-Fi router in your room, in your house that everyone has, right? So this is completely without the Wi-Fi router. The blood looks okay. It's not perfect, but it's also not terrible. But then they turn on Wi-Fi. So the router's on, and guess what? I would bet 90% here are no experts in dark field microscopy, and hands up who sees that looks a little odd in the middle. Yeah, I guess so. So it intuitively feels like there's something wrong, right? So that's stage 2 of blood clotting. That is what happens when we suddenly get stressed. We saw what happens to the brain. Now we see what happens to the blood. Then in this case, our Quantum Bloc, which is our weakest device, right? So this is the Infinity Bloc. It's way, way stronger and acts way faster than the Quantum Bloc. And the Quantum Bloc was the weakest device. Already within just 10 minutes, it completely reorganized the blood. And it was even better than before, even though Wi-Fi was still on, right? It's not that they turned off Wi-Fi. It was still turned on. So here's just a graphical representation of the different things that they looked at. By the way, also the white blood cell activity and motility increased significantly through our technology, which is important because that's sort of your army, right? So part of your immune system. So if you're stressed by Wi-Fi or by 5G, your white blood cells tend to get paralyzed. It's crazy, right? All these things. This is very interesting because parasitic load is one of those things that we're more concerned of than ever, I would say, right? It's linked to cancer, it's linked to a lot of other diseases. There's more parasitic load issues than we've ever heard. And at some point, the Besa Institute told me after one of those dark field microscopy studies, they found that there was a test person that had an 80% reduction in parasitic load within 15 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. So, and by the way, I think this is not a average case. That's probably as good as it can be. But it's quite remarkable. So then I asked them if they could do a dedicated study in regards to that. So they did. They ran a 6-month study, randomized, double-blind with control group and experimental group, and they found a significant reduction in parasitic load in the blood of everyone in the experimental group. So you can see, probably you can read this, it's about, on average, I would say here, maybe about a 40% reduction. And they looked at everything in the blood very thoroughly, including the environment, right? Because what happens here, what's the mechanism, right? So because we're not swallowing pills to get rid of parasites, we're not doing a Rife machine that kills parasites, it's just changing the energetic environment. The vibration changes. And if you have a vibrational state inside your body that parasites love, then they hang out there, and then they are going to be more, and then they're going to take over. But if you have an energetic state and vibrational state that's too high for them so that they don't like it, like you don't like to be outside on the street when it rains, and you're certainly not going to sleep there and hang out there when it rains and it's nasty and it's cold. That's the type of environment that parasites get if you expose them to very high vibrational states. So naturally, they just degenerate, and that includes limes, by the way, as well. So that was quite significant. Another one here that I wouldn't have talked about 2 years ago because of all the censorship, but spike proteins, right? It's still a very interesting topic. So pretty much the same study was done by the Besa Institute, but they didn't look at parasitic load. In this case, they looked at spike protein traces in the blood. And by the way, they're very thorough. They don't just take the blood here from your fingers. So they take the blood over the course of this, I think it was a 6-month study, from various parts of the body, just to be very detailed. And in the control group, there were vaccinated and non-vaccinated people. In the experimental group, there were also vaccinated and non-vaccinated people. Now, the interesting part is that during the course of the study, in everyone in the control group, they found traces of the spike protein. And in no one in the experimental group, they found traces of the spike protein. Isn't that interesting? The Besa Institute explained it, and they said it's a high consciousness field that overwrites what is happening with these spike proteins. That's the mechanism. So we're coming to an end, close to an end, but I wanted to at least mention that. The Emoto Institute is Masaru Emoto is the pioneer in regards to water analysis. He passed already a few years ago, but his son Hiro Emoto runs the office in Japan, and a good friend who's actually here in the audience, he had introduced me to the Emoto Institute at some point, and then we were able to send our technology there. And then they tested it, and they found that our weakest device, the Quantum Bloc, was able to improve water faster than any other method they had looked at before. So that out of one beautiful crystal in the control group, suddenly there were 5 beautiful crystals in the water. And that's their world that they live in, right? They look at these crystals and they see these hexagonal structures of beautiful crystals. And what it means, we as biohackers, we call it structured water, right? So that's the water, if you drink it, that is then really beneficial to you because you can actually leverage the water. So you hydrate better, and that's what you want. It has a better energetic state. So since it's been probably 3 years now, I would say maybe 3.5 years, the Emoto Institute has been reselling our products in Japan exclusively, which, is quite remarkable because they haven't done it with other technologies from overseas. This is the last study I want to mention, and then I think you have a good overview of the broad applications really for this technology, which is a key technology. It's not a product. Very important. It can be leveraged in a lot of different industries. And by the way, also, if there are any companies here with supplements, right? Our technology can improve supplements. So if you're interested in collaborating, we're always open to doing something with other great people. So this was a clinical trial done with autistic children, with 42 autistic kids to be specific, which happened in a very interesting way. In our private Telegram group that has almost 10,000 active members, someone posted at some point that he has an autistic child and that the Mondays were always the worst days of this autistic child. And then he started treating the kid with our technology, and then only on Mondays, and the kid didn't know. And then Mondays turned out to be the best days. So he posted that in the Telegram group. Then this doctor who runs the clinic that is specialized on autistic children, helping them, saw that post. And then he reached out to me and said, hey, we would love to run a study. Can you provide the technology? Can you make that happen? So that's what we did. Long story short, there were significantly positive results. So 70% of the kids showed significant improvements, and 30% of the kids showed at least improvements. And then what's very important is the so-called ATIC score. That's the score that measures where are the kids on the spectrum, was able to be reduced by 20 basis points through our technology within a 6-month period. So that's quite significant. There were a couple of kids off the spectrum after this study. So food sensitivity, should I talk about that? Should I not? Okay, I'll mention real quick that the stress response of the human body gets reduced, per all we know, if you infuse foods with quantum energy. So if I were to put a lemon in there, for example, and I'm sensitive to a lemon, then I would have less sensitivity or even no sensitivity to the lemon after I had charged it. And we demonstrated that actually live on stage at Dave Asprey's biohacking conference in Orlando a few years ago in front of over 100 people, where we had someone live on stage that got crab meat in his arm with a derma roller, and he was allergic to crab meat. So then you saw itching starting to happen pretty quickly, blisters coming, it was all red, and he didn't like it. I mean, but you know, it was his idea to do the test, so it was not my idea. And then they put the crab meat live on stage into one of our infinity blocks. Then after a few minutes, they took it out and put it in his other arm. No allergic reaction. And so if you're now saying, well, Philipp is full of shit, that can't be, then you can either talk to me personally afterwards about that, or you can look that video up on our YouTube channel. That's the Quantum Power channel on YouTube. That video is still up. It has been for several years, and you can actually see what happened there. So at the same time, though, with foods, I want to caution everyone, you know, I'm not making a claim in regards to foods because there are too many different sensitivities. There are too many different foods. And also, some people may have even deadly allergies, right? So I don't want you to try this at home. I know people with light sensitivities and gluten sensitivities, they all do it and they all try it and they see good results, but I don't want to officially recommend it. Okay, so we're really coming to an end. There was a big animal study with 30 dogs, also randomized and double-blind, placebo-controlled, that showed significant effects with these dogs to a point where it's almost incredible. And this is the last slide here that I want to mention, because what I showed you with the science is also something that professional athletes report, right? That's also one of the reasons why I made it to #1 in the US last year in tennis, is because I was able to improve my energy system and my recovery and my performance better than anyone else. And you see several world champions here on that slide. Natalie Zimmerman, 2 times boxing world champion, Blaine McConnell, World Cup champion in bobsled, Maggie Voisin is a 7 times X Games medalist, and Neely Ross, by the way, kudos to her, she's from the Orlando area. She just became world champion again, so now she's a 2 times world champion and also world record holder. They're all using this technology, and they may not fully understand how exactly it works, but they feel it works and they see the results. And that is my last word. I want to really encourage everyone to feel. Think a little less and feel yourself and feel what your heart tells you. And that's what we should be doing more of. And now I hope you'll have a great rest of the conference. Enjoy the day today and tomorrow. And again, for the ones that may have come late, you can get before and after tested for free at our booth at Leela Quantum Tech. Thank you.
Thank you.